Hello, my name is Emily Mays, and this is my presentation on saving the honeybees. The goals for this presentation are to inform people of the decline of bees, explain why this plummet is happening, provide ways in which honeybees are useful to our communities and the environment in general, and to present different ways to help save the bees. For the audience of this presentation, I would love for many people to see it and feel inspired to do work to better their communities and to help save the bees. However, this is directly targeted towards people who work with the environment on a daily basis, such as farmers, gardeners, and landscapers. Their influence and the work that they do has a large impact on whether the bees continue to decrease or if hives start to flourish again. And this is also targeted towards people who love the environment and are just looking for easy ways to save the bees. So what honeybees do for the environment and for humans. Because they pollinate, 1 out of every 3 meals is made possible because of honeybees. So foods such as apples, cranberries, melons, and almonds wouldn't be made possible without honeybees. And in turn, if these honeybees die, this large percentage of plants and vegetables would also start to decrease, meaning the animals and humans that rely on this vegetation to sustain them would also start to decrease as well. Honeybees they have a huge economic impact. $15 billion is made a year in the US from the plants that are pollinated by honeybees. And also local honey helps allergies. So what is happening to the honeybees that is causing their decrease? There are many different variables that lead to this decrease. However, I'm going to focus on 3 in this presentation, and those are parasites, insecticides, and poor nutrition. So for parasites, basically a parasite is a living organism that lives and feeds off of another organism, and in this case, they live and feed on the bee. So one example is the Varroa destructor. These only reproduce in honeybee hives, and they are mites that feed on the developing bees, and they don't hurt them enough to completely kill them, but they do weaken them greatly, so they can escape from the wax that they have been developing in, but they don't have the strength to further sustain themselves and the rest of their hive. These mites also transmit viruses, so the bees who can go off and can pollinate, when they've been away from their hive for too long, they forget where their hive is, so they aren't able to get back home, and they eventually die. Another parasite is the Acarapis woodi, and these parasites affect the breathing tube of bees, so they weaken them and they spend their entire life in them, so they don't have any chance of really coming back after this weakening. The second factor that is leading to the decline of bees are insecticides. Many people across the world use insecticides especially farmers, to help keep harmful insects away from their plants and their vegetation. However, it is also extremely harmful to the very helpful insects that are needed in order to continue to produce these vegetables and plants. And an example of this really bad one is neonicotinoids. So like you can tell in the name, it is similar to nicotine, as in it has the same chemical kind of balance as like nicotine. And these are harmful to the insects' nervous systems. Over $1.6 billion was made from this chemical in 2008, and in 2013, it was used on about 95% of crops like corn and on a majority of fruits and vegetables in the US. So when bees come in contact with these toxins when they're collecting pollen, it not only affects the bee, but because it's in the pollen, it affects the entire hive, which can kill an entire colony. And finally, poor nutrition is also a factor into the decline of bees. And this basically just means there is not enough flowers or nutrients that the bees need in order to survive. So a way to help this would be to plant flowers and herbs that bees need in order to survive. And this includes pansies, snowdrops, lavender, marigolds, mint, and many, many, many more plants and herbs. So these three factors, as well as the others, lead to what's called colony collapse disorder. And colony collapse disorder is basically the disappearance of many bees, which in turn leaves the queen and underdeveloped bees alone by themselves in a hive. And this wouldn't be a big problem because there are developing bees, but with the mites hurting them and them being extremely weak, they're not having the other bees to help them and to bring them the nutrients that they need to keep growing and to build back their immune systems. So when these bees are left alone, they will die, and the queen will be left alone, which in turn means she would die as well, meaning the whole colony would be completely gone. So what we can do to help this problem, there are many, many things we can do. And there are many little things that would make a really big impact to better the environment and the situation for the bees. So just a few: you can sponsor a hive. There are many organizations that will come to your community and place a hive in a place that has many nutrients that the bees need. So in turn, the bees are getting a really nice home where they will definitely have the nutrients that they need to survive, and the community members will have a lot of good vegetation or vegetables that they need to survive in turn as well. You could spread out information about honeybees and native bees to your region in order to bring awareness to your community. You can host a fundraiser and donate the money to organizations that work to save the bees. You can plant a bee garden and feature some of the plants that I mentioned in the slide before, as well as many other plants. And you can also just stop using harmful pesticides and insecticides. They really do harm bees a lot. So stopping using these would really better their chances to survive. This is my works cited page, and this is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot about the honeybees and will work to better your community and the bees' opportunities.